pizza sand. Delicious. For years now, whenever I've gone into Family Mart, there's something that's always caught my attention. An ominously branded product known only as baked sand. And yet, I've never actually bought it until today. So I went down the Family Mart to grab it, only to discover they've rebranded it as pizza sand, which, to be fair, is marginally better. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. A pizza covered in sand sounds absolutely delicious, but I'm going to disappoint you by revealing that this actually means sandwich. The word for sandwich in Japanese is sando. But because they wanted English branding on the product, they dropped the O to make it sound more English, and the end result is an awkwardly named product that we're about to try for the first time. It has been microwaved down the store, and it's a little bit soggy. That's not good. Anyway, here we go. Oh, no. Not bad, not particularly good either. All I can think about right now is a pizza filled with sand, and so I just don't think I'll be buying this again. Just forget about that. It's a 4 out of 10 product at best. So today I'm answering questions you guys have sent in about life in Japan, travel, food, culture. We'll also be reading out comment of the week and hate mail of the week, because not everybody is nice. And as always, together we'll uncover the answers to all the big questions about Japan, the good, the bad and the ugly. So without further ado, let's dive in. Would you rather have feet for hands or hands for feet? Oh, every time for fun. They said the giant Japanese Hornets have finally made it to this side of the world and they're here to stay. Can you tell us about all those encounters you've had with those beasts? Have you seen one inside your home? For those of you that aren't familiar with the giant Japanese Hornet, it's an absolute horror show. Imagine an angry looking bee the size of a fist with a deadly 6mm stinger that's been described as being the most painful in the world. It's a good thing I didn't learn about hornets in a pamphlet about Japan before I moved here, to be honest. Otherwise, it could have been abroad, not in Japan. But I did once have a frightening close encounter with a hornet. Not in my house, fortunately, but I did have one in my car once, which, to be fair, was equally as bad. I was driving down the road with the windows down on a nice sunny afternoon, the afternoon wind brushing through my hair, and then a hornet came through the window and hit me in the side of the head and started buzzing around the car. Oh, fuck! Oh, Jesus, fuck! Shit! Fuck! What the fuck? Oh, God! Oh, God! Fortunately, I wasn't in a built-up area, so I hit the brakes, pressed all the buttons so all the windows went down. It managed to fly out the car to safety. It was pretty unnerving. It could have ended quite badly if it had stung me in the face while I was driving. But they're pretty amazing creatures to witness from afar. And providing you don't get too close to a nest or make any sudden movements when they're nearby, you'll be fine. Do girls ever run up to you and say, "I love you, Chris"? You bet they do. It happens every single day in my imagination. What is one of the most underappreciated dishes that's been featured, and what are some dishes you'd recommend for people to try at least once when they visit Japan? I'll give you two, and the first one is Genghis Khan. No, not the Mongolian ruler, but a juicy lamb mutton barbecue dish. I like the dish for two reasons. The first one is, it's called Genghis Khan. How cool is that? Imagine if all dishes were named after a famous historical dictator. What will you be having today, sir? Yes, I'll have the Colonel Gaddafi with a side dish of Idi Amin. A good choice, sir. Thank you. Apparently, the lamb mutton dish is called Genghis Khan is because here in Japan they typically associate Mongolia with lamb, and Mongolia equals Genghis Khan. It's as simple as that. Brilliant, right? Fundamentally, it's a bloody delicious dish, cooked on an iron grill in a way where all the juices from the meat marinate all the vegetables at the bottom of the grill. It's also one of Japan's only dishes involving lamb, and it certainly doesn't disappoint. The second thing isn't really a dish, but a sweet called bontan ame, literally citrus fruit candy, or as I like to call them, leap of faith sweets, because they require something of a leap of faith to put them in your mouth, given they are wrapped in edible plastic. At least I hope they're edible, otherwise this might be a very short video. At first, it is undeniably unpleasant. It does just taste like you've stuffed a plastic bag in your mouth, but after about 5-6 seconds, the plastic melts away and you get this lovely, juicy citrus fruit flavour coming through. Important to point out, it's not actually plastic, it's some sort of gelatin made by wizards. But there's something quite satisfying about them, and you can get them in any supermarket across Japan. Genghis Khan would have loved it. Have you ever had an awkward encounter with a viewer? I found it's quite common to be recognised in the street, but people just don't know where from or where they've seen me. Last year I was in Tsukiji Fish Market in Tokyo making a video with Ryotaro, and a viewer, I think from America, came over and said, "Wait a minute, don't I know you from somewhere?" And I was like, well, maybe. And I felt kind of smug because Ryotaro was standing there. I thought, it made me look good. And then he said, "You're on YouTube, aren't you, making videos?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's me." And then he said, "Wait a minute, aren't you Dave in Japan?" "You're Dave in Japan." "Oh, yeah, that's me, Dave in Japan." "Dude, I love your videos. Dave in Japan." "Yeah, Dave in Japan. That's who I am. That's what we do." And Ryotaro laughing his head off all the while. I wouldn't have minded. I didn't really mind. I found it kind of funny. But Ryotaro bullied me for the rest of the day as we walked around Tsukiji Market. Is it embarrassing to ask someone where the Love Hotel is? No, not if you've had a lot to drink. What is your favourite product that you originally only purchased because of bad English? Well, I wouldn't say it's bad English, it's bloody brilliant English. Check this out, this is my new hat. For those of you that have seen recent videos, I have started something of a hat collection. I haven't had much to do, haven't really got out much, but when I do get out, I buy hats with weird English on, like this one that says, "Are you excited? Less adventure, special every day." But that hat is so last week because this one is my new favourite hat, and it simply says, "Factors to protect by might. Let things take their course, an act of ravage." Let things take their course, an act of ravage. Well, yeah, wait a minute. Reading that out loud, it does sound a little bit dodgy, doesn't it? Let things take their course, an act of ravage? That's the sort of thing you'd hear being read out in a courtroom. I don't think I could wear that out in public. Forget about that hat. If your first tattoo isn't Family Mart chicken, then you're a knob. My first tattoo isn't going to be a piece of Family Mart fried chicken. Here's what it looks... Oh, it's gone. Now, it's a well-known fact there's a lot of animosity between South Korea and Japan for various historic and geopolitical reasons. And just by virtue of being here, sometimes you get caught up in the crossfire, leading to bizarre and incredible nicknames, like this one, for example. "Hello, Japanese spy man. Never come Korea forever." Japanese spy man, finally, a title that I can wear with pride. I can never cut it as a British spy man, but I can certainly make it as a Japanese spy man. Unfortunately though, it simply isn't true. We all know who the real Japanese spy man is, with his multilingual skill set, charismatic persona, and uncompromisingly twatty smile. I've been to South Korea, absolutely loved it, and now I'm going to make a special effort to go again just to spite you, and to conduct industrial espionage on an unprecedented scale. What's your favourite train station and why? Most stations in Japan are all the same. Modern, convenient, but ultimately dull. And then there's Fukui Station, which has dinosaurs. Life-size animatronic dinosaurs. It's like a low-budget Jurassic Park. I cycled past Fukui Station on journey across Japan, and of all the stations I saw on that 2,000-kilometre journey, that was easily the coolest. And the reason is Fukui is home to one of the biggest dinosaur archaeological sites in the country. And the runner-up award goes to Niigata Station for having 200 sake vending machines. Honestly, the most fun you could ever have at a train station. If only they could combine the sake vending machines with the animatronic dinosaurs to create the world's best station. Get drunk, ride around on a dinosaur. The possibilities would be limitless. When will you get me out of the basement? I didn't eat anything for 2 weeks now. The real Chris Broad?
Oh, thank God, please. Please let me out.
Shut up. You knew the rules. You knew what was going to happen. You only have yourself to blame.
I need to get out of here.
Yeah. Bought you some pizza, Sam.
Please, no, wait.
Have a nice dinner, dickhead.
Let me out, no.
What's the largest animal you think you could single-handedly cling film to a lamppost? Yeah. A porpoise. You always seem uncharacteristically positive about Japan in general. Is there anything about the country or culture that really bothers you? You know what, that's because nothing here does bother me, nothing at all, because... Oh, there might be one thing. Firstly, I don't mind living in an apartment the size of a shoe. I kind of like it, it's kind of cool, it's a simple way of life. Even in my first apartment where I used my ironing board as valuable kitchen space, on account of the fact I lacked an actual kitchen, it was kind of fun. It made me feel like I was in a low-budget, post-apocalyptic movie, to be honest. And I get the need for small apartments, given Japan's population density and walls made of cardboard, because bricks are vulnerable to earthquakes. But if you are going to build apartments out of what is essentially thick paper, why not insulate the walls just that little bit better to make them soundproof? Because I can hear my neighbours on all sides, whether it's arguing, cooking, cleaning, doing random things. You know, I hate it. Absolutely horrible. It's like a radio that can never be switched off. It's also made me very self-conscious about how noisy I can be in my own apartment. Typically in the evening, if I'm watching a film or TV or something, I have to use headphones, so it doesn't feel like a shared cinematic experience. Maybe I've just been unlucky that the 2 or 3 apartments that I've lived in haven't had great walls. I don't know. If you're somebody that lives in Japan, do you have this problem? Is it just me? Am I going mad? Probably. Certainly being stuck indoors for the last 2 months has made that problem a whole lot worse. It might not be a Japan-only problem, but I do know that if you are going to pack so many people into such a small space, some soundproofing or better insulation would make all the difference and make the quality of living here just that little bit higher. But I don't think construction companies are going to do it just because they make more money if they don't. That's all there is to it. That's what I hate. What is the true meaning of life? To get Twitter verified. But I haven't got it, so my life is utterly worthless. Have there been any times that a stranger in Japan has talked about you behind your back, not knowing that you understand Japanese? If so, what did they say? I remember in my first year here, I went to a local festival and, you know, it's really busy, people just sitting there eating, drinking, having fun. And I walked past a couple who must have been in their 30s and they're about a foot away from me. And the guy turned to his wife and said, "Yeah, gaijin da." Like, oh, it's a foreigner. And he said it in a way that clearly he assumed that I didn't know what he'd said. So I spun around and went, "Oh yeah!" And he was quite taken aback by this. And he dropped his ice cream all over the floor and just sort of sat there in shock and horror. But honestly, that's the only thing I've ever really encountered. People just expressing surprise that there's a foreigner. But you know, Japan is one of the most homogenous countries on earth, and it's extremely rare to run into someone in the countryside here that's not Japanese. So you get used to it pretty quickly and you learn not to get offended by it. And admittedly, I'm equally as guilty whenever I see a foreigner around here. I also drop my ice cream in horror and disgust.
Go fuck yourself.
You look like a fat Jake Gyllenhaal. Fat Jake Gyllenhaal. I don't see it. I don't see it at all, and I suspect sometimes that some of my viewers need to wear these. But I'll add it to the list with Elon Musk and Frankie Muniz, and in the meantime, why don't you...
Go fuck yourself.
What are 3 or 4 things that no one tells you about Japan that surprised you when you moved there? Alright, so here's 3 things that I learned about Japan through just being here, stuff that nobody told me. And the first one is this: signatures aren't really a thing. Japan uses a traditional and ultimately flawed method called the Hanko Stamp, and it comes with this little funky case. Check that out, that's cool, isn't it? Whenever you do serious paperwork at the town hall or do banking or buy a car, you need to use your own personal seal. When I first got it, I was like, wow, that's cool, my own stamp. You can get the ink in there and then stamp things. It was brilliant. I couldn't stop stamping things. It was so much fun. However, I quickly grew to hate it. Every time I've needed it, I've never actually had it because it's just a bit weird carrying a stamp around with you all day when you've got a perfectly good signature. Not only that, but if something happens to your stamp, it could be a complete and utter nightmare. I've actually had 2 Hanko stamps in my time. The first stamp just had my name Chris on it, and I was told after a year of using it that it wasn't good enough. It just wasn't a good enough stamp. I don't really know why. I've still never understood that. Several years later, I went to my bank with my Hanko stamp to change my address, and everything was going well. The woman was very nice, and I did my stamp, and then she suddenly realised that my new stamp was different to my old stamp. And she said, "Why have you got a new stamp?" And I said, "Oh, I got rid of that one like 4 or 5 years ago." And she was like, "Do you have it still?" And I was like, "No, it's long gone in a dustbin somewhere." And at that point, the entire bank broke. Like, the whole bank just came to a standstill. No less than 10 members of staff huddled around my document trying to work out what to do because this was awful. They got the supervisor, they got the manager, they got the regional manager. At one point, even God came down to try and sort this fiasco out. And finally, after 40 minutes, they went, "Okay, well, there's nothing we can do. We're just going to have to let it go." and that was the end of that. And I left the bank longing for the days that I used to just use my signature, and I cursed this damn outdated system. Fortunately, the good news is they are looking at getting rid of Hanko Stamps once and for all, on account of the fact that it's not 1856, and the day they are, you can be sure to find me sitting here with a party hat and a smile. Point number 2, after the great Hanko Stamp fiasco, I needed a drink, I needed a beer, and you'll find that bars and restaurants in Japan don't have any outdoor seating. Now in the UK you can't beat sitting outdoors in the summer sun in a good pub garden. In Paris you can't beat sitting out on the streets with a baguette and a glass of wine. But in Japan, outdoor seating is phenomenally rare. There are a few good reasons. Number 1, the weather is pretty erratic. It's either bloody hot or bloody cold, and neither of those conditions are particularly ideal for sitting outside having a drink. Secondly, and perhaps a bigger factor, is the lack of space. If you look at a street in Japan, there's never much room to put chairs or tables and to sit outside and drink. And then there's the noise and inconvenience that heavy drinking outdoors would create. So at the end of the day, it's probably for the best, but the end result is many streets feel a little bit barren and cold, where all the real action is happening behind closed doors. And that takes me to point number 3. When you do go into one of those bars and you sit down, have a drink and start chatting with the locals, you will always find those conversations start at some point with somebody asking you what your age is. And there is a good reason behind it. Now at first I always thought it was a bit of jokey banter, people just asking you your age, you know, it's just quite fun guessing people's ages. When I came here at the age of 22, people used to always guess that I was 38 years old. Bastards. But as the years rolled on, I learned that there was a pretty good reason for it, and that is age plays quite a large role in Asia, due to the values of Confucianism, and people like to know where they stand in terms of hierarchy, where they are. Obviously, most people know the terms kohai and senpai, and age is the most important factor in determining which one you are when dealing with someone. So if you're chatting with a stranger in Japan and your ages are somewhat ambiguous, the sooner you know how old each of you are, the quicker you can establish your position better. And that's an oversimplification of it all. But hopefully the next time you're on a bar crawl out in Tokyo and 10 people in one night ask you what your age is, at least you'll now know why. If you could unwatch one movie besides E.T., what would it be and why? Oh God, not E.T. Thank you to all of you guys who stood by me and voiced your support and dismay for the horror show that is E.T. The only other movie I wish that I could unwatch is The Human Centipede, and I don't think that requires any explanation either as to why that is. And rather ominously, there's a district in Tokyo called Shiodome where you can actually find human centipede-like sculptures on full public display out the front of a bloody restaurant. On a scale of 1 to shit idea, it's quite literally, it doesn't need to be there, it didn't need to be done. Do you have any more planned travels across Japan, like your journey across Japan? Yeah, I mean, I've been sitting indoors for about 2 months now, and I've been growing increasingly anxious to get out and escape somewhere. There's only so long you can sit in your apartment listening to your neighbours argue. Oh no, not again. But the other day I was looking at the Abroad in Japan map on the website where you can see all the videos that we filmed over the years, where they are. And there's like 4 or 5 noticeable hotspots that we seem to have evaded, such as East Hokkaido, Central Japan, Shikoku and Kyushu. So I am thinking of doing like a road trip series later this year. Think Journey Across Japan, but without bicycles and with a car, which was what it should have been originally, to be honest. But I am open to ideas. Let me know where you'd like us to go and explore later this year. But for now, guys, that's it. Thank you to everyone who sent in their questions for this episode. For more behind the scenes videos, check out the Abroad in Japan Patreon. But for now, guys, as always, many thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. I'm off to take back this Act of Ravage hat. I want to get my money back. I want to get my 100 yen back. Or I might chuck it to the person in the basement. Can't make my mind up.